Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down.
Welcome to Let's Talk with Carl Lee and frequent guest hosts Hollis Lewis and Lisa Odie, where sports, culture, and community intersect. Join the crew as they dive into engaging conversations with guests from all walks of the sports life. Let's Talk is proudly presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com, and by the all-new historic Quoyer Diner in downtown Charleston, online at QuoyerDiner.com. Let the conversation begin on Let's Talk.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope that you're having a good day. I am about to get ready to talk to a friend of mine that goes way, way, way back. I have my co-host Hollis Lewis in the building, and the football queen Lisa Odie on the other end. And I have to just kind of tell this story before we get going. It was interesting to me. I played the North-South game in who knows how long ago that was, but the biggest name.
We want dates.
We don't need dates. The biggest name in the state for the game was Curt Warner, and me and a buddy of mine who's passed away, Eddie Ray Dias, we couldn't wait to see him. Like we wanted to look at him. We wanted to see him. We wanted to size him up to see, like, you know, cause he was from Pineville. So that, you know, it wasn't AAA. So we wanted to kind of see what he was like. Uh-huh. So we help him with his bags, and we're talking with him and all this kind of stuff. And when he got on the field, and he couldn't do the full tackling and all that because he was late, because he was getting the O.J. Simpson Award. So, you know, which again speaks how talented he was.
Right.
So now he's out on the field, and man, when he got the ball the first time, I was like, oh my God. what just happened? So, Curt, are you out there?
Yes, sir. I can hear. I heard you.
Well, and again, I want to make sure I have Hollis Lewis here and Lisa Odie, okay, so that you know the other voices around. Okay. And Curt, I've looked at your bio. Man, and it is phenomenal and full of everything from Rookie of the Year, basically, Offensive Player of the Year, 3 Pro Bowls, all-rookie team, Ring of Honor, a national championship. I mean, an All-American team in 81. Bruh, like, tell us, like, when you reflect back and you look at this, and for the people who don't know you, I will probably make the case you probably don't even go back and even think about it. But when you hear it, what do you think? Like, how does it make you, like, because, man, that's a great career.
Well, let's start with the high school game in Charleston, West Virginia first.
Okay.
When you and Eddie Ray,
I love it.
I thought we were like best friends at that moment. And come to find out that you guys were sizing me up all the way through this thing. That's what I
so
remember
shady.
Most of all. Yes. Hey, let me help you with your bag. Hey, let me help you get this stuff into the room. Hey, let me help you out. I'm thinking, okay, these guys, they seem to be nice guys. They're AAA guys. I'm a single A guy with regards to Pineville, West Virginia, out in the boonies somewhere, nobody know of. So, that's what I remember.
That's the new story for you now.
But I'll tell you something. I had a blast. It was the most fun I've ever had, playing against guys like you and Eddie Ray in practice, and then having an opportunity to play in the game, and then our friendship over the years. It's just been a really it's been a good friendship. So I appreciate that. So. So that's where I'll start.
Okay.
We can move on.
I like it.
How you doing, Mr. Warner? This is Hollis Lewis.
Oh, you can't call him Mr. Warner.
Well,
you can't give him that. I can't
Tell
take
Mr. Warner. Kurt works.
Well, how you doing? So you're being from, like, as you mentioned, the Boonies, Pineville, but what people may not know, that area collectively, Wyoming, Mullins, different things of that nature. I mean, you have some athletic legends. You know, you got Nick Saban's, yourself. You got Christy Martin, the first female superstar of boxing, Dan Antonio, basketball coaches, and just a whole host of other. What was it about growing up in that area that spawned so many, high level athletes and coaches?
That's a good question. I don't know, other than the fact that we just played against one another growing up at a very high level, and I had a couple of cousins that were just phenomenal basketball players. Frankie Warner, Eugene Warner. They were just legendary. So I got to watch these guys in action at Pineville High School, and I had a number of other relatives and friends who had come up through that Pineville connection, and it was competitive. I mean, it was just. They talk about the Friday night lights and the Saturday night lights and all the other stuff, and this was exactly that way. I mean, it was just, we didn't like each other and, in that area, but it was really good competition, and I got to see a lot of it growing up and got to participate in it, so I think that helped me right along the way. So
awesome. Hey there, I want to call you Mr. Warner also, like Hollis did, but I guess I'll go back to Curt. How's that? So this is Lisa Curt.
Please do. We're fine, Lisa.
Good to have. Okay, thank you. It's good to have you on the podcast tonight. So,
well, thank you.
Yes. So I'm looking back at your history, like Carl said. It's so impressive seeing all of the accomplishments that you've had in football throughout your career. You were also inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2009. Then eventually, during that time period, I think you were playing for the Nittany Lions, of course, Penn State. And so walk me through, how did you end up? Were there other schools in the state that were actively recruiting you? And how did you decide that, your college career, the path you took was to go to Penn State and play for the Nittany Lions? Did I open a can of worms with that question?
Possibly.
I like it.
Good question. Very good question. You are correct. I did have a number of schools who were interested in my services at that time. And we didn't have the NIL thing, so it was just, just the it was what it is what it was, and so on and so forth, et cetera, et cetera. So, I did have an opportunity to visit WVU. I narrowed it down to WVU, Pitt, Penn State. I looked at Notre Dame, Nebraska. Tom Osborne came to my house in the middle of the winter in West by God, Virginia, which I could not believe.
That's impressive.
And it was impressive. I was impressed. And then I had Paterno to come down. And it was, I knew I wanted to play at a high level, and I had heard about Penn State and Paterno, and Pitt and West Virginia, and once I went to visit the various colleges, schools, universities, it was the right fit. With regards to Penn State. Now WVU had Robert Alexander. And so that was kind of a gauge as far as what I was looking at and what I was going to do. And I just, let Robert stay there. I'll go somewhere else. And that was kind of what I was thinking with regards to that. So it wasn't – go ahead.
Oh, Curt, I was gonna ask this question as kind of a follow-up. Also, I think one of the interesting components that I thought was you were, like, at that time, you talked about the I-back position,
Right.
That was, in order to pick a school doing what you did and the position and how you played, those were teams, the primary teams that you're talking about already had advanced to the I-back formation with the toss sweep and that type of thing compared to, and I think WVU had just kind of got there because when Robert first got there, they were in the near far backs kind of stuff. And I know this is technical football kind of talk, but which never fits. It can't fit an I-back because an I-back is just it's a natural skill set of being able to find where to go. Am I right on that?
Yeah, they were running a veer offense where it was fake to one side and you pitch to the other side and no blocking in front of you, not really. You didn't have a fullback in front of you. And I'm like, I don't know about that.
Right.
So I passed. I said, hey, you know what, that's just not for me. That's not a good fit for me. And I could see what Robert Alexander was doing. So if it wasn't going to work for him, surely to goodness it's not going to work for me as well. So I figured, hey, let's go in a different direction. So
now, being that you were from such a small town in West Virginia, what, or maybe the better question is, who gave you sort of the guidance and perspective to think so big and large about, particularly like coming from Pineville and possibly considering Notre Dame or Nebraska or some of these big schools?
Oh, that's a good question as well. Where I grew up, you had a couple of options. I'm not the smartest guy in the classroom, so it was just one of those
Carl?
things.
I say that all the time too, Kurt.
In the classroom, so you got to make your hay when you have an opportunity to do that. And so it was a challenging fit because I obviously went up there to look around and to visit the campuses and to see the competition and so on and so forth. And there was a lot of competition at that level.
Now, did you have like a coach or your parents advising you at this time?
Well, I had a person by the name of Libby McKinney, believe it or not. She was my English teacher. Her husband, Daryl McKinney, was a coach at Pineville High School years before, so he coached my cousins and so on and so forth. And it was kind of through her, because I had all of these people converging on Pineville, West Virginia, and I didn't really know Sikkim from come here. So I kind of she was kind of like my agent at the time. And I trusted her to be able to narrow it down or help me narrow it down to a certain degree. And she was a big Joe Paterno fan. So that kind of pushed me in that direction. And she was pushing me in that direction, but I still wanted to go and see the other opportunities that were out there. I went up to Pitt. And I did not get a chance to go to Nebraska or Notre Dame because of weather issues. But, more importantly, I wanted my parents and my friends to be able to come, at least be able to drive to where we were playing to watch the game. I needed them to be involved in that process. And I'm sure glad I did it because my old man, God bless his soul, he's passed away. But, man, he loved going to Penn State. He loved holding court and being able to, to be a part of that process. So I was close enough, and yet I was in an arena where I could play against some talent, very talented teams and opportunities. So it was a combination of both of those things when it's all said and done.
Yeah, that's a great story. So let's go back. We'll just stay on this train with the Penn State conversation, Kurt, if you don't mind. So your tenure there was between the years of 1979 and 1982, and you guys won the national championship that year. I think Carl alluded to that in his introduction of you. What was it like to go through that experience with Joe Paterno?
Oh, man. Another good question.
We're just loaded with good questions for you.
We got to get you on the show more.
Are we making it too hard?
No, I'll tell you something. Paterno was a bear.
Yes.
I mean, he didn't take any stuff from anybody. So and I respected that because he kept us in line because there's a lot of talent going on. And you can call, you know, this, at that level, there's a lot of talent, and there's a lot of guys who think that they're the best. And you get to play it out on the practice field, and you get to play it out on the football field. But I'll tell you what really got my attention when it comes to Joe Paterno is the fact that, you know, my freshman year, he talked about academics. My freshman year, we had 2 All-Americans that were not able to play that season because academically they were not there. 2 All-Americans.
Wow.
And that got my attention. And what he was saying to the rest of us, you better go to class. You're going to get an education as well. So the second day, this is the second day of training camp, we had one of our captain who was not in the football shape to do what was required during that first day or so, where you got to see what kind of shape you're in. And it's called, I guess, a training camp shape or whatever you need to be in. So we had a guy who was our captain who did not make the times that he was allotted from running which he probably shouldn't have been running it, but he just didn't make the time. So he took away his captaincy. So in the first 2 days of camp, Paterno has already set his mark. As far as I'm concerned, like, you know what, you better go to class and you don't want to mess with this guy because he doesn't play around. And so, I respected that, and just by, you know, him holding us to a certain standard, he backed it up. He didn't just say it; he actually executed it. And you've got to respect the guy who lives by those type of rules. So as we move forward, you know, we played against some pretty good competition, at Penn State, and especially my senior year, we played, guys like Notre Dame, Alabama, Nebraska, and it was just a matter of us being in the right spot at the right time to get to that national championship game, and then to have an opportunity to play Georgia down at the Sugar Bowl. So it was just a combination of a lot of different things that had happened. And I thought we had a couple of other teams that were better than us. That in my senior year, my junior year, I thought we had a better football team. We just we lost one too many games. We lost 2 games, and that's just not going to get you in a national championship game. So that year we lost 1, and we were able to compete at that level. So, you know, it's just the good Lord looking out for us at that time, and we had an opportunity to participate at that level.
Curt, I'm going to
win.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I want to jump in and because you're hitting on something that triggers me. You know, I go to Marshall, and of course their record wasn't this and wasn't that, so there was no necessarily celebration of being at Marshall at that time. But Sonny Randall was there, who was a disciplinarian, and the thing what was triggering me as you were talking. Coaches who hold you accountable and coaches that they don't care how good you are. They're willing to sacrifice any and everything for your betterment, so that, and when I say for your betterment, that you understand you are not this team. Yeah. You are part of it, but you're not this team. Sonny Randall put me in study hall. I had like about a 1.7 after my freshman year, but I was just so happy that I was at Marshall. I was playing. I was, getting some accolades and people talking about me. And, this is my first step trying to get to the league. And I'm not thinking school is the last thing on my mind. And Sonny made that very clear. And bro, he made me stay in study hall my entire career at Marshall because of that. And today, I don't know, I don't know if coaches understand the importance. I think that sometimes we want to be buddies.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you want to impact a kid, those coaches like that, they impact you. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, Paterno and I were not friends at all. I mean, we all hated him. All of us.
Yeah.
It wasn't just me. We all hated him because he was a Bear. But when you go back and you visit him after you get out of there, he's a whole different person. I'm like, who is this guy? He's not screaming at me because every conversation that we had, I was getting screamed at over something. And so I tried to keep it to a minimum with regards to that. But when I went back after my rookie year and I went down to the Fiesta Bowl and I actually had a conversation with him, whereas we were having a conversation. I'm like, well, this guy's not too bad. I kind of like him. What's the story here? But yes, you've got to be held accountable. There is no prima donna. There's no prima donna in football. It's not going to happen. There's too many variables that come into play, and it's a team game. It's the ultimate team game when it comes to sports, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm biased about it. But there's a lot of life lessons that you learn as well with regards to sports and what it does for you, and the opportunities that you have. Mm-hmm. And because of it, because like I said, I was not the sharpest guy in the classroom. Let's not kid ourselves. But I had an opportunity to move forward, to not be a coal miner, because it's either you're going to get out of here one way or you're going to go into coal mines and do something else. And it is what it is.
Yes.
It's a good motivator.
That was the truth. That's the truth. That's the God's honest truth. It's either, because I'm not going to get out of there either way unless there's something else that provides me an opportunity to go in that direction, in the football direction anyway.
So just on the field, when you get to Penn State, I believe that initially you played some running back, obviously, but you also did some special teams. And I want to say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, your first touch, the first college touch, you were a kick returner and you took it to the house. Am I correct?
That is not correct, but that's okay. We can exaggerate it.
But it sounds good, right?
It was in your freshman year, though, correct?
I talked to Bill Cox, who's just a great friend of mine, and he says, hey, you know what? One thing you got to learn when you tell us stories, Curt, this is a Penn State guy. He said, you got to embellish. I'm like, in this case, we're not going to embellish it. I almost broke it.
Okay,
I was pretty close. But I did score 3 touchdowns that day. So what do you know?
And that was your first college game?
That was my first college game.
So how was that? I mean, like I said, you're coming from Pineville, first college game, you're going through the camp, all that, then you finally get to
at a major university.
At a major university. And Penn State was Penn State.
Yes.
And then you get 3 TDs. Like, what was that feeling after?
There were so many stories going on. I really don't. I don't know. I mean, how did they find Joe Paterno, or how did Joe Paterno find this guy in Pineville, West Virginia? That was the biggest story. Yeah. Who are you? What do you
Way
do?
before social media or any of that. Yeah, that's amazing.
Way
it is.
Before social media.
Right.
And I think everybody in Pineville in that area were probably shocked that I had that type of a game. Even I was shocked that I had that type of a game. But it was quite a day. No, it was a lot of fun. I had a great time, and I was able to play on a great football team, and in my freshman year on. So it was a good opportunity.
When you go back, when you look back at your senior year at Pineville, and because I'm just going from the North-South game and seeing you in that, and the whole issue between, who's going to be the best tailback, you or Reggie Armstead. Like when you were in, I knew that would bring back a memory. So when you're walking around there and you're trying to figure out who you are you understanding like the expectation of the people in Pineville and the doubts of the people who hadn't necessarily seen you play? Did that ever have anything? Did you think anything about that? Did you ever want to say, hey, I want to prove something wrong? Like I want to prove these people wrong that I am this kind of a player. Because I know I was wholeheartedly that way, because my whole thing at Marshall, I was happy to be at Marshall, but I knew where Marshall was at the time, and so I wanted to prove there was something I needed to prove to folks who doubted me. There were people who said I wouldn't even play at Marshall. So I have to believe that that motivation, some of that motivation came from, I want to prove these people wrong. Am I right there?
Yes, you are. You're completely right. I mean, there's always a chip on one's shoulder, and you've got to have a reason to say, I can play at this level. And I believed that I could play at that level from day one. But it wasn't just because it wasn't something that I thought about with regards to, well, am I second guessing what I can do and what I can't do? I felt as though I could play there. I belonged there. And now was just an opportunity to get out there and show what you can do.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, you got to prove it to a certain degree, because nobody's going to give you anything, especially at that level, when you've got 5, 6. I mean, I remember going into our running back room, and they had the guys on the board my freshman year, and there was like 7, 8 guys on that list. And I remember seeing that, and I was at the bottom of the list. And it wasn't because my last name was Warner. It just said I was on the bottom of that list. I'm thinking to myself, okay, you know what? Well, when I get out of this camp, I'm not going to be on the bottom of this list when I finish here at this camp. But that's what I was saying to myself. But I was determined not to be on that bottom of that list when it was all said and done. And so that's what you're up against. So you got to find something that says, hey, I belong here, I can play here, I can do this. But you also have to execute what you're doing, because it could have very easily gone the other way.
Oh, well, hey, Curt, it's Lisa again. So we're going to keep going down this memory trip here, and we're going to take you back to the summer of 79. You, at that time, you were the Kennedy Award winner, and you were also a guest of honor at a fundraiser at that time called the Run for Thad. You were the honoree of that event. And that event was to, help establish a memorial scholarship fund for, it was in memory of Thad Snodgrass, who was a DuPont High School student athlete that was killed by a drunk driver in 1978. Oh, wow. And just to give you an update, that year that you were the guest of honor, they had raised $500 and were able to give away one single scholarship. But now I just wanted to give you an update to now that they're giving out. This same organization is still in working, and they give out at least 6 scholarships a year at $6,800 each. So just wanted to let you know you were a part of something that has really grown and helped a lot of the students at the Riverside area, the eastern end of Kanawha County.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I'm glad I was a part of it.
Yeah. So, knowing that, what are some other charitable, causes that you're a part of now? Are there any, near and dear to your heart that you'd like to help with?
No, you know what?
Yeah.
I've got a couple of guys that are on the autism spectrum.
Okay.
So I spent a lot of time in that arena.
Sure.
Working with them and making sure that they're.
Well, that's a charitable cause for sure. I mean, you're a part of something that's very, very, needed. So for sure.
All right, cats and kittens, have you heard? The Warrior Diner is back. Step into the classic vibe of one of Charleston's most historic restaurants. Don't miss the daily Blue Plate specials. Breakfast served all day, every day, and free parking. With an outdoor patio covered for the summer, an elegant basement bar, and customizable event space, 1022 Warrior Street offers an experience unlike any other. Open 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit warriordiner.com for all the need to know and relive the good times at the Warrior Diner.
Let's face it, bad things happen to good people. Seriously injured in a car accident, trucking accident, or even wrongfully arrested. Life happens, and when it happens to you, you will need sound legal advice and aggressive representation. That's when you call attorney Frank Walker at 304-413-0179. That's 304-413-0179. Lock it in your phone, text it to a friend. 304-413-0179. Or visit online at attorneyfrankwalker.com.
Let's Talk with Carl Lee is presented by attorney Frank Walker and the all-new historic Warrior Diner. Come in on episodes, ask the crew questions, or suggest topics on our Facebook page. Search for Let's Talk with Carl Lee and remember to like the page to become part of the conversation. Subscribe by searching Let's Talk with Carl Lee on your favorite podcast service and tune in Thursday evenings at 7 or Sunday nights at 8 for Let's Talk with Carl Lee. This is Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Now, back to the conversation.
We're going to jump to the NFL. So,
Okay.
you get drafted. You're the third pick. Do you know the two guys that were ahead of you?
Yeah, I know who they are.
Oh, here we go.
And Elway. Yeah, of course I know who they are.
Okay. All right. So when you get drafted, remember now you're talking to a dude who came in the 7th round, right? A 6 pick 7th round. So and was happy. Okay.
All right.
So when you got picked on the day that they picked you and as quick as you went, did it bother you that you didn't go in one of those first 2 picks, or did it matter at all to you?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Not at all. You know what? I had no idea as to when I was going to get picked. Okay? No idea.
Yeah, they didn't tell you that back then. They didn't
tell anybody anything back then. We didn't have the ESPN thing.
Right.
You know, hugging on the commissioner and all the other stuff. No, none of that. So and that's another story for another day. No. It was, my agent was Marvin Demoff. And I had talked with Coach Chuck Knox. He and his wife Shirley came up to Pennsylvania as he was the new coach of the Seattle Seahawks at that time. They were pick number 9. They had the 9th pick. And I remember talking to, what's the guy's name? It wasn't the recruiter. He was the guy who was the talent scout for the Seattle, Ralph Goldstein. You remember Ralph? You ever see him around?
I've heard. Why do I know that name?
Because he was all in the NFL realm quite a bit with the Seattle Seahawks. He was a guy that went out and did the scouting thing. So he had come up to Penn State. And we were doing the 40s and all the other stuff because now you were doing it on campus back then. Right. And now you can pretty much, do it wherever. But so he had mentioned the fact that, they're number 9 and he says, you're going to be gone before then. Well, okay, that's fine. But I still had no idea as to where I was going or what was going to happen. So Knox comes up and I talked to him and his wife. And he was the coach with the Seattle Seahawks. And then one thing kind of led to another. And I didn't really know what the situation was probably until maybe a day before the actual draft, where I'd gotten a call from my agent, Marvin Demoff. And he said, hey, I need you to come out to L.A. because you're gonna be headed north up to Seattle. I'm like, okay, that works for me. I'm okay with it. So that's kind of how I knew about it, and that's kind of what happened on my end. But yeah, I knew Elway was going to go number 1, and I knew Eric Dickerson was going to go number 2, and then I was going to go number 4. So.
And again, man, that's huge, and that's behind Eric Dickerson. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
and to me, And I go back to the game and us laying on the turf laughing because I'm laying on top of you, and all of a sudden there's two West Virginia guys from the North-South game who are buddies who are laying on the turf just absolutely like laughing because it's just unbelievable that this is actually happening. I can remember
Exactly.
that. I can remember that plain as day, man.
And I may have said a few other words to you. I don't remember. I can't recall.
Well, I'm gonna try to take some credit. Like I did tackle you, so you know. You're
not supposed to tackle me. What's wrong with you, man?
That's good stuff.
So, tell me a little bit more, Curt, about so when you're the first pick to a team, and you go to this team. And obviously, me, like you, like anybody who's coming, everybody wants to play. Everybody wants to start.
Yeah.
I remember going in and checking, looking at my position. I'm moving from safety to corner. So I'm checking out the corners. I'm kind of looking to see, okay, who can I go after? Do you remember your process of trying to figure out, who you had to get past? Did you think that you were going to get him? Or
I was on the top of the board. When I walked in there, I was on the top of the board.
There you go.
Okay?
Yeah.
I wasn't at the bottom. I was at the top. And they're like, let's see what you can do.
Oh, so they put you they put you in the eye right now.
Let me tell you something. You're the number one guy, and you've got all the other stuff. There's no hiding you. You can't hide.
Right.
You got to play. So what are you going to do? You going to play or you going to play? What's going on here? Well, you know what? You got to bring it. I can't hide like at Penn State. I could hide, back in the weeds and the wool and wait for things to happen.
But now you got to go. Now you got to go.
I was exposed, and I'm like, oh, man. So, and you got to show up, because if you don't show up, they got no use for you. You got to go.
Right.
See ya. You don't want to bust. So that was that. That's what I did not want to be, was a bust. You got to bring it.
Right.
When I had the right guy, I had Ground Chuck, and you know what he said to me was, "Hey, the ball ain't heavy. The ball ain't heavy. Not heavy. The ball's not heavy. Run the daylight." That was the second thing he said. Run the daylight and run where they ain't. So those are the two things that he said to me.
I like that.
That was my instruction from Chuck Knox, and I still remember it.
And you did well.
Ain't heavy.
You did well.
The ball ain't heavy. You're going to be running that football. See this ball right here? It ain't heavy. You're going to run it. I'm like, all right, Chuck, let's go.
I love that phrase.
One more than ain't. That's what he did. He had a lot of phrases. They called it Knoxism. I can give you a whole bunch of those. But not today. Not today.
That's awesome. I think that what that does is sort of display the attitude that you had coming in, particularly at various levels, because you had to take on one sort of role coming in at Penn State. Then when you go to the NFL, it's another, as far as being on the top of the list. So what I want to ask is, a lot of times when you have guys and athletes coming from small towns and going to, bigger cities, and then obviously being on the top of your field of endeavor, which was football, a lot of them subscribe to a lot of the trappings that are around, particularly being a number one, pick of a team. So how did you avoid that during particularly that mid-'80s when, we all know what was going on at that time?
You know what? It wasn't. I think it's just your upbringing, your friends, your family, and the values that they instill in you. You don't. I didn't vary too much off of that, so I was able to kind of keep the focus on what I needed to do. As far as I was concerned, I was well ahead of the game. I wasn't in the coal mines of West Virginia,
nice,
so I could be appreciative of that. Right?
Right.
And Penn State was a great experience. So I got no complaints. I'm okay. So now you got to go out here and play at another level, which is, Carl, that the NFL level, that is a whole different level within itself. You can't duplicate that. You can't go out and practice that. These are the best of the best.
You can't fake it either.
It is
No.
You can't fake it. No.
And
You're not
to
gonna
that,
fake this one at all.
And to that,
Yeah.
Curt, you have to have I'm not going to say it can't be an arrogance, because arrogance can cost you, but you got to have the confidence to know, one, I've done everything I can do working out. I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can. I'm going to outwork anybody that's in the position that I'm at. When you get people who focus on a dream, something that they want, and you don't veer off of that, and you're not going to let anybody take you from that.
Yeah.
I didn't care who was playing corner. I just wanted to know which one was going to be the first one I could get. And as soon as I walked in, I'm trying to get you. I'm sorry. I don't really know you. I'm sure we'll get to know each other, but you in my spot. And
exactly.
And as arrogant as it sounds, you're not going to make it at that point if you're not thinking that way.
I would call it a quiet confidence. You don't go out and talk it.
No, you
do it. You execute it. Because I don't want to hear you talking. Do something. Just be quiet and play. And that is the mindset. That was my mindset. I don't need to talk. My actions will speak, for itself. And that was my mindset. That was my attitude. With regards to playing in the NFL, because you got guys that are like Lawrence Taylor. That guy was just you want to talk about men?
Yeah,
the men amongst the men. That guy was crazy. He was crazy. He was the craziest guy I've ever seen.
But
good crazy. He could play. He could scare your. He's like a guy you don't want to mess around with him. Let's run to the other side. Let's not run at this guy.
Yeah, Brad. When you come in at 83, when we came in 83, bro, there was some dogs in the league.
Oh, let me tell you something, man. There was some crazy people out there. They were all crazy.
Yes.
You got to get crazy right along with them.
Yeah,
you got to go crazy. I don't know how you do it, but you got to. About the third or fourth quarter, you just say, okay, you know what? I don't care anymore. I really just don't care. Let's just play. So yeah.
Hey, Curt. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a career-changing moment. Probably not one of your fondest memories of your NFL experiences, but Week 1 of 1984, when you injured your right ACL and you missed the rest of this season. We've talked on here. I know Carl's had some of his former teammates from the Vikings talk about their own injury, detrimental injury experiences with the team doctors. And how was that for you whenever you found out that your ACL was injured and it was, it could be a career-changing type of injury? How did the Seahawks handle that injury with you, and how did you overcome all that controversy?
Dr. Scranton, who was our orthopedic surgeon, I specifically remember him coming into the hospital room and saying, after the surgery, he says, I have fixed your knee accordingly. Now, it's up to you to do something about it.
Right.
And because I had no idea, just how significant that was with regards to the injury. I didn't think that I wasn't ever going to play again. I figured, hey, this is another obstacle you got to overcome. But he did fix my knee accordingly. And I didn't have any issues with it. So it was just a matter of, getting, 9 months of rehab.
Right.
Pretty much every day, 8 hours a day of rehab. That's how much time I spent to get back, on track. And my knee was healthy. It wasn't, it was stable. It wasn't like, okay, I'm running and all of a sudden I can't run, or it pops or it clicks or something. I didn't have that issue.
Sure.
Now, I was fortunate enough to have a great doctor who actually, he went in and did what he said he was going to do. I had to, work at it quite a bit for a long time. And I appreciate our trainers because they did a great job as well. And then I wore a knee brace for my first year or so. And then it broke. It fell apart my second year or so, and I didn't even put it back on. I said, I'm done. I don't need it.
Right.
And
that was an amazing, overcoming of that. That's pretty special.
And I'm shocked, Brad. I'm shocked that you would take that brace off.
Well, I broke it. It broke. And then I was like, you know what?
They going to have another one. They got another one for you.
I hate it. I hate this brace. And I don't, I'm talking about the brace. I don't talk about people. I just do not like that brace on my knee.
Right.
And then it broke. And then I went to the sidelines and I just said, you know what? I'm done. I'm not wearing this thing. And then 2 plays later, I got hit on the knee.
Ooh.
I got hit. And then I got up and I was like, oh.
Now it's okay.
It's okay.
You know what? Now it's okay. And then I proceeded to just go after it from that time on. So it was a little, somehow it just clicked. It was like, okay, I got 99.5, and then all of a sudden the brace went away, and then I got hit, and it's like, okay, I didn't think about it anymore. I just started playing again. So.
Great.
Now, not only because Coach Lee talked about you guys playing in the North-South game together during high school, but I also believe you guys played in the Pro Bowl together.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
87?
Yes.
How was that kind of reconnecting, playing in the All-Star game in high school now, you meet each other back in the league?
Did I play that year? I don't know if I played that year.
You know what? Now that I think about
selected.
You were selected, but I don't think that you played. I don't think that you played.
I didn't show up. I said, all right, you know what? My knee still hurts, and I'm not going to play.
Oh, gotcha.
No, I'm kidding. I didn't want to play. I didn't play.
See, so
the truth shall set you free. We say that all the time.
Yeah.
I just like, you know what? I don't want to play because Carl, if you know that game over there, they didn't really do anything until maybe the fourth quarter, where when you start kicking in, who's going to get paid what.
Right.
But the first couple of quarters, I mean, we were taking it easy on each other because you don't want to see anybody get hurt. And so
when you look at it today,
pretty interesting.
When you look at it today, what does it even look like to you today? Because it's not even a game anymore. Like that's just crazy.
You know what I say? I'm like, why? Why are you even out there?
Yeah,
because you're not doing anything. So. They're playing flag football now, which is
exactly.
And you know what?
That's fine.
You know what bothers me, and I'm curious about what you think about this. And Hollis and Lisa, you all can chime in real quick too.
Okay.
Like, why don't you just have an all-pro team, all this, whatever you want to call it, and just erase all of the games and just let it be like. All state, all conference. Why not just make it that and don't put no game with it?
There's no game no more.
Yeah,
Right.
But I mean, don't do nothing.
Don't do nothing.
Just give you the honor.
I know.
And move on.
And move on.
Well, I think they got to fill the gap between the playoffs and then the Super
No, they got to
Bowl.
make money.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You got to.
They're gonna make money.
You got to
with it.
fill that weekend, and
So why don't they bring? Well, you couldn't because you couldn't bring college kids in there and let them play and do it that way because I think they're in the. Isn't it during that? Isn't it during the bowl games, which these kids don't play any longer in the bowl games anyway?
Right.
The national championship, I think.
Yeah, I think it's right in around the championship. I think.
Okay.
Right after.
Yeah.
But
okay, so I don't know why it's like why play in it because it's just devalued to a certain degree, and I don't blame the guys for not playing. It's like, hey, I don't want to go over here and get hurt, and then all of a sudden you're done. And you don't want a career-ending injury out there playing in that arena because you're not really focused on it. It's not a game. You're just kind of going through the motions, which I hate to say, but you're trying to protect yourself and others as well.
As you should. right? I mean, as you should. Yeah. All right. So I have one more question. I'm going back to your Nittany Lion days, and I'm going to kind of throw in a little Mountaineer Nittany Lion rivalry discussion here. So I think you were a part of that, correct? Some of the games that were played between WVU and Penn State. And so out of those 60 previous meetings, I think the Nittany Lions led the series 49-9-2. So what are your thoughts on, do you feel like the WVU Penn State rivalry over the years, was it really truly a rivalry? I know some of the arguments are when there's a rivalry that it's not as lopsided with wins and losses. How does Penn State look or view the WVU rivalry? Do they feel like it's a rivalry?
Yes.
Okay.
We did.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt. We took that game very seriously. And if you don't take it seriously, that's when you're going to get beat. So it didn't matter to us what the record was. It was 1-0. We weren't going to, let up on them because we had won who knows how many more games than
a lot.
them. So it had nothing. But we were able to focus in on what we needed to do that week, and knowing that West Virginia, could beat us at any given time. You can lose. So we took it very seriously, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, anybody got anything else? Curt, Hollis?
Yeah, just again, you retired in the 90s, so just like post-football, what has life been like, and kind of what have you been up to since your playing days have been done?
Business entrepreneur guy. Was in the auto industry for a number of years, in the insurance industry, and so on and so forth. So I have no complaints. Just taking care of the kids and the family, and so on and so forth. So I'd love to get back there every so often, but it's been a while.
Yeah, we would love to have you back.
Hey, and I was gonna say, if you come back and you don't contact me prior,
I know.
Just so that if you're not too busy, all right. If you don't call me, we're going to have a problem. I'm going to tackle you again.
That sounds a bit threatening, Curt. I don't know about that. I don't know how I would take that.
At least now I'm getting the true Carl Lee.
Exactly.
Himself to me early, that high school day. They
full
were
circle.
Me. That's all I know. Full circle. I got played. That's all I know.
Bro, you didn't get played. You didn't get played. We just needed to verify how good you were. We needed to see.
I know. Single A, Pineville, West Virginia. You're in the boonies. Yeah, I know. I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. And then after I figured out that they played me, I'm like, well, let's go have some fun. Let's go win this game. Let's go win the game and have some fun. And
let me ask this question. Let me ask you this question.
Go right ahead.
And I hate to compare players in different generations. But when you reflect back on how you ran, and maybe you didn't ever really reflect on it because it's just who you were and what you knew. Did you ever consider like who you look like or who?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all.
So you want to know who I always say that who it reminds me of?
Yeah.
Gale Sayers.
Well, I can't argue with it. I'm not going to protest on that one at all.
And I hate to give it to you because we're friends, and I hate for you to, walk off the show with too much confidence in you. But Brian, that's when I go back and had seen clips and stuff like that. Like, man, I would watch you in the North South when and of course, just so you all know, the person who got the front cover of the newspaper after we won the North-South game was me. I ran the ball one time.
Mic drop. That's a mic drop.
140-some yards. And Carl Lee get the front.
I had one run, and they caught that one and put it in the front page of the paper. I might have been a better running back than you.
Well, that's home.
Well,
some home cooking.
Time to tell.
Hollis said we got some home cooking on that one.
Yeah, one second. Yeah, all of the Charleston, the big Charleston this, and AAA Charleston, South Charleston. Yeah, they were everything.
Maybe I was meant to be a running back. Maybe that's what they were trying to promote.
Well, maybe so. I don't know, man. I don't know.
My brother, we got to get out of here. Bro, I appreciate it.
Okay.
And I, like I said, I'm going to keep working on trying to get you back here soon. So we'll talk about that again.
Yeah. It's been great to have you on the podcast. Thank you, Curt.
Thank you. I've had a great time. Thank you, guys.
All right, man. You take care. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the show, and we ran our time all the way to the limit, so we got to get out of here. So we will catch you again soon. We're out of here.
Let's Talk with Carl Lee is presented by attorney Frank Walker and the all-new historic Coyer Diner. Comment on episodes, ask the crew questions, or suggest topics on our Facebook page. Search for Let's Talk with Carl Lee, and remember to like the page to become part of the conversation. Subscribe by searching Let's Talk with Carl Lee on your favorite podcast service, and tune in Thursday evenings at 7 or Sunday nights at 8 for Let's Talk with Carl Lee.
If you fall, dust it off and get back up on your feet. Anything could be a win, yup, even defeat. They say sugar bad for you, why is victory sweet? Couldn't play with big kids, I had to sit in the street and watch from a distance, but over time I grew. If I put in the work, in no time I'm due. Everything that I worked and prayed, I'm okay. If you ask me, how did I do it, I'm gon' say, you gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting in, you gotta work, grind, shine, never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work. 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 You gotta work.